Wow, what do you know? It's time for the Pocket Knife Show. Hey, it's Mike on the mic again for another episode of the Pocket Knife Podcast. Early one morning in the not-too-distant past, I received notification that Sonic, our local drive-in diner, they are not sponsoring this show in any way, was selling half-price corn dogs all day long. I like corn dogs, but because I already had something else planned for lunch, I deleted the text and went on with my day. Around noon this same day, I found myself patrolling the row of tables in the school cafeteria. I dealt with the usual and mostly minor antics of my younger charges, 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, and a horde of middle schoolers. At one point, I recall an apple rolling out onto the gym floor. Just another day at the office. Showing the last of these classes out of the dining area, I returned to the lunchroom to supervise the high school's student body as they took in nourishment. Did I mention the school was serving corn dogs that day? Strange, right? Sonic offers a discount on questionable meat products in tubes dipped in cornmeal and fried on the same day as a local district plops the same product on compartmentalized plastic trays for their students. It's happened more than once. About 10 minutes into my time with the top 4 grades, the unthinkable happened. A server stepped out from behind the plexiglass shield and shouted for all to hear, "Extra corn dogs if you want them." In the next few terrifying moments, I learned a valuable lesson. I pass it on to you in hopes that if you face the same situation in the future, you might remain safe. The warning I offer is a serious one. If you hear a lunch lady shout extra anything while high schoolers are quietly eating, please seek cover immediately, or your life may be forfeit. I heard the words while standing in the narrow aisle between the tables and the folded-up bleachers. Seconds later, I had to pin myself up against the stands, making myself as thin as possible as more than a dozen ravenous beasts rushed past me in search of their prey. I remained frozen, eyes wide open, as the same stampede returned on its course, corn dogs in hand. Phew! Makes me sweat even now. The peril I endured reminds me of an odd story from Israel's history. During the time when Elisha was serving as prophet of God among the Jewish people, the king of Aram laid siege to Samaria, the capital city of the northern kingdom, and things got ugly. Really, really, really ugly. This is what we have in 2 Kings 6:26 through 29. I warn you, this is not a story for the squeamish. As the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried out to him, "Help me, my lord the king." The king replied, "If the Lord does not help you, where can I get help for you? From the threshing floor? From the winepress?" Then he asked her, "What's the matter?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give up your son so we may eat him today, and tomorrow we'll eat my son.' So we cooked my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, 'Give up your son so we may eat him,' but she had hidden him." Gross. What does this have to do with the Corndog Stampede of 2022? Nothing, but it sets the scene for the story I was reminded of. For that, we need to flip the page to 2 Kings 7. At the beginning of chapter 7, Elisha receives a word from the Lord concerning the end of the siege and the resulting famine. The prophet is talking with Israel's king and those who've come with him. "Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, a seah of the finest flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria." The officer on whose arm the king was leaning said to the man of God, "Look, even if the Lord should open the floodgates of the heavens, could this happen?" "You will see it with your own eyes," said Elisha, "but you will not eat any of it." Ominous words. Makes you wonder what's going to happen. Long story short, some lepers decide to turn themselves over to the invading army. They figure they'll be fed or they'll be dead. A quick death seems better to them than slow starvation. What do they find when they reach the enemy camp? Not the enemy. They find abandoned tents full of food and drink. These diseased dudes go to work on both, then take some silver, gold, and clothes and hide them away for later. We're told in verses 6 and 7 that the Arameans had been scared off by God, who had made them think that help was on the way from armies that were allied with Israel. It's an interesting story. Read it later. We've got to get to the Corndog Stampede part now. Suddenly struck with guilt, the lepers decide to go knock on the gates of Samaria and let everyone in on the good news. They're sure they'll get in trouble if they hesitate any longer. They tell the gatekeepers what they have found. Scouts are sent out. The vacated camp is inspected, and then the people are set loose to get food. Listen to what verse 17 reveals. Now the king had put the officer on whose arm he leaned in charge of the gate. And the people trampled him in the gateway, and he died, just as the man of God had foretold when the king came down to his house. If you hear someone shout, "Food!" to a bunch of starving folks, seek cover immediately, or your life may be forfeit. That's not the intended moral of this Old Testament story, though. The lesson we're supposed to learn is this. When God speaks, do not mock him. Do not mock his word. Instead, in humility, obey him, or watch for his answer, or trust that he's going to come through. God is trustworthy.
Oh no, it's sad, I know we've come to the end of the show.
See you next time.